we have a full agenda today. Thank you for joining this webinar on small business big impact, empowering SMEs for a sustainable future. We have a full speaker roster, and we have some exciting new guidance documents to launch today that we hope will be very helpful for both business practitioners around the world as well as stock exchanges working with SMEs in their own marketplace. As we all know, SMEs form a huge part of the global economy, both in terms of their contribution to GDP and their contribution to employment. It's also a common misunderstanding that people think that SMEs are not listed on exchanges. That's not true. Many listed companies are also medium-sized enterprises. And it's a great way, of course, for small businesses to grow their business by accessing capital markets. So this is a topic that we've been looking at for some time, and we're happy to now do some new guidance in this area. And we have with us today some excellent speakers, including the co-chairs of our advisory group on SMEs, the CEO of the Philippine Stock Exchange, the CEO of the Amman Stock Exchange, as well as our partners at the IFC that worked with us to produce these documents. So without any further ado, I just want to run through the agenda, just a few welcome remarks. Then we're going to have our introductory remarks, keynote address by our group co-chairs. Then we're going to give you a brief presentation. My colleague Corley is going to join and give us a brief presentation of the new model guidance and action plan. These are available on our website now. We'll drop them into the chat. And then, of course, we're happy to answer any questions. We've already got 64 people online, and I can see people are joining as we speak. That's great. Feel free to post questions in the Q&A part of the Zoom anytime you want. You can use the chat to just sort of exchange greetings with people. We'll also post links, download links and things there as well. But if you have substantive questions about the topic, feel free to post them in Q&A and we will address them. So I think everybody knows how Zoom works, but just in case, of course, as I mentioned, use the Q&A to ask questions. You can use the chat for comments or to share links. We'll be sharing links with the download links and so on. We have somebody from Dakar, Senegal. Hello. Nice to see you there. Great to see so many people from around the world. So people are still logging on. And you can, as I mentioned before, use the Q&A for any substantive questions about the documents or to any of the speakers. And if you have a question for a particular speaker, you can mention that or the exchange, and we'll be happy to direct you in the right direction. So without any further ado, I'd like to first give the floor to our collaborators on this project from the International Finance Corporation, who's part of the World Bank Group. Our colleague Slava is here. She's joining us from Bangkok. Slava, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you very much, Anthony. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So at IFC, we are deeply committed to supporting sustainable development and inclusive economic growth around the world. And a big part of this mission is helping small and medium enterprises thrive. And as Anthony mentioned, SMEs are a backbone of economies everywhere. And they create jobs, they drive innovation and support local communities. And that's why we focus on providing them with the tools and guidance they need to grow in a sustainable way. By adopting better sustainability practices, SMEs can become stronger, more competitive, and more resilient in today's fast-changing world. Stock exchanges play a key role as well in encouraging SMEs to embrace sustainability by creating opportunities and incentives. Like easing IPO listing rules or hosting workshops like this one on sustainability. Stock exchanges can help SMEs build business that are not only compliant with regulations, but also better prepared for the future. We applaud the great work many stock exchanges are already doing to promote sustainability among SMEs, and these efforts are making a real difference. To support this important work, IFC has partnered with UN Sustainable Stock Exchanges, and we launched a new action plan and model guidance for stock exchanges. and companies. These resources are designed to help SMEs integrate sustainably into their operations and to encourage responsible business practices. And this collaboration reflects our shared commitment to building a more sustainable global economy. We know the road ahead will be bumpy, as it usually happens, but potential rewards are enormous. SMEs have a unique opportunity to lead the way in this transformation, and IFC is there to support them every step of the journey. By working together, the stock exchanges, regulators, SMEs, other partners, we believe we create a brighter and more sustainable future for everyone. So thank you again for joining today, and look forward to continuing this important initiative together with our partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Slava. And a reminder to stock exchanges on the call, of course, IFC has regional and national offices in many parts of the world, and they do provide a lot of technical assistance programs regarding SME development, as well as other areas like corporate governance development, et cetera. So if you ever have any questions about those, feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to connect you to the appropriate counterpart at IFC. Thanks again, Slava, for your intervention, and as always, great working with IFC on this project. So now I'd like to get to the co-chairs of this project of the SSE's SME working group. So I'd like to first give the floor to the CEO of the Philippine Stock Exchange, Mr. Ramon Monzon. Ramon, thank you very much for joining us, and we have greatly valued and appreciated the contribution of the Philippines Exchange to this project, as well as other projects. So you've been a longtime member of the SSE and a great contributor and doing great things in your marketplace. Mr. Ramon, you have the floor.
To everyone joining us today from around the world for the launch of the UN Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative's Model Guidance for Small and Medium Enterprises, or SMEs, as well as the Action Plan for Exchanges. Your presence today speaks volumes about our shared commitment to advancing corporate sustainability, particularly among SMEs. The vision and aspiration of the UN SSE is to have the business sector commit to and act on sustainability targets. This requires the buy-in from SMEs, which account for over 90% of all businesses globally and provide the majority of employment worldwide, especially in rural and underdeveloped areas. SMEs contribute to reducing regional inequality and promoting growth outside of central business districts. Often family-run, SMEs are more socially embedded, developing local supply chains without dependence on larger centralized operations, allowing them to respond more flexibly to community grievances and needs. Compared to larger corporations, SMEs face greater challenges in adopting sustainable business practices. Due to their limited resources, investing in sustainability initiatives may not be prioritized by SMEs. The lack of financing poses a significant obstacle, as SMEs often lack the credit history and market visibility that investors require for green financing. Additionally, SMEs typically do not possess the capabilities and resources needed to account for their environmental footprint, particularly their Scope 3 carbon emissions, which typically require substantial upskilling and funding for monitoring. Nevertheless, SMEs must start leveraging sustainable practices to their advantage. 10 years after the creation of the Sustainable Development Goals and 9 years after the Paris Agreement went into effect, SMEs generally do not know where to begin their sustainability transition. In response, we have taken on the challenge of creating a handbook to facilitate that transition with the model guidance document we are launching today. This guidance outlines the process for SMEs to transition to sustainable practices in 4 main steps: prepare, align, implement, and communicate. A company must first understand the challenges and opportunities of this transition. Then, it should align its strategy and governance structure to address key sustainability issues. Following this, it should implement its sustainability strategy. And finally, the company must disclose its progress fully and accurately. The guidance is complete with examples and resources to assist SMEs in accomplishing these 4 steps towards adopting sustainable practices. This document is referred to as model guidance because each exchange is encouraged to customize it according to the needs of their respective jurisdictions. We invite stock exchanges to utilize this model guidance in providing SMEs with insights on the transition and adoption of sustainable business practices within the specific context of each market. As co-chair of the advisory group on SMEs, along with the Amman Stock Exchange, I extend my congratulations to the UNE Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative, the International Finance Corporation, and the advisory group of member exchanges who contributed to the development of the SME Model Guidance and Action Plan. It is our collective hope that through this project, we can incentivize and accelerate the adoption of sustainable business practices among small and medium enterprises. I wish you all a productive and insightful session. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We appreciate, again, your contribution and the insightful comments. I'd like to now go to the Amman Stock Exchange, and we have the CEO of the Amman Stock Exchange, Mazan. Good to see you. I just saw you a few weeks ago in Tunis. Great to see you again. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and I would like to welcome you all, and thank you very much again, and really good to see you within 2 weeks, actually. And actually, I would like to welcome all the guests and our colleagues from all over the world, and also I would like to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation for the good job that been done by the UN SSE and the team to introduce the guidance, and my sincere gratitude actually for the team for the good job, and I'm really pleased to join you today in this important launch event. We at Amman Stock Exchange has recognized at an early stage actually the importance of the role of exchanges in spreading the awareness of sustainability culture and practices. And since the exchanges not only forces economic growth, but also champions sustainable development and practices, we believe that the economic progress and sustainability must go hand in hand to ensure long-term success and economic prosperity. We know that the SMEs, the small and medium enterprises, are considered the backbone of the economy. And Mr. Rahman has actually in details expressed that in his speech. They drive innovation, create jobs, contribute significantly to resilience, growth, and human well-being. However, and it's today's global landscape and the increasing demand for sustainability practices and sustainability products, in addition to increasing demand by investors to integrate sustainability in business practices has become essential, not optional, actually, not anymore optional. And SMEs can play essential and a crucial role in the application of sustainability practices and achieving the UN SDGs, Sustainability Development Goals. We know very well the challenges that SMEs might face, from limited resources to regulatory hurdles, but we also see sustainability are a powerful opportunity that enhances competitiveness, reduce costs, attract investors, and open also new markets. And now we are very proud to announce the launch of the new UN Sustainable Stock Exchanges Guidance. This initiative can help SMEs to unlock the benefits of sustainable practices and improve and empower them to as key players in building a more inclusive and resilient global economy. I would like again to extend our sincere thanks as co-chairs, actually, together with Mr. Ramon, our sincere thanks and appreciation for the UN SSE and the team for introducing such a guidance for stock exchanges and sustainability, and also this very important guidance will become true drivers of sustainable development, not just for our region, but around the world. I don't want to talk much more. Mr. Ramon actually has spoken in details. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Mr. Anthony and the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazan. Thank you very much for that contribution, and thank you for the contribution also of your staff and the Amman Stock Exchange. You've made a very powerful contribution right in the early days. I remember discussing this with your staff at the Arab Federation of Capital Markets meeting last year in Doha, and the immediate enthusiasm for the topic was very inspiring, and we appreciate the strong commitment.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to go into the tools themselves. So we have two new tools available, and my colleague Corley LaRue is going to walk us through those. Mazan mentioned that SMEs, they're of course one of the defining characteristics is they're smaller, they have more limited resources, so that can create some challenges, but it can also create some opportunities. So to walk us through a little bit of these kind of challenges and opportunities and what SMEs can do to address sustainable business practices is my colleague Corley LaRue. Corley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Anthony, and good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are in the world. I'm greeting you this morning from a chilly but sunny Johannesburg, and it's really great to see so many people from around the world join us at this exciting event this morning. Yeah, these documents always take a lot of work and a lot of input from many people, and this one was no less. So thank you again to our co-chairs and the IFC for their support, but also the content in these documents were co-created with the inputs from more than 62 people across over 40 organizations around the world. So what you see in these documents really reflect inputs from various sizes and various types of organizations and exchanges, businesses themselves. And so we really hope that these tools will be useful to both the exchanges and SMEs who are looking to leverage what they can find in here. Anthony, I'm not sure if I have control over the slides or whether you're going to move them forward for me. Thank you. So just to recap, and a lot of this you will find in the how-to guidance of the set of documents that we're launching today. Just why are SMEs relevant? And I don't think I need to introduce that to anybody. You wouldn't be here if you didn't understand the importance that SMEs play in the global economy. Some of the statistics that we list there, roughly 90% of global firms, as much as 50% of global GDP up to 70% of employment in emerging markets, re-establishes the fact that SMEs are vital for economic development, innovation, and the upliftment of local communities. And we increasingly see them being involved in capital markets. And as Anthony alluded to, many of the exchanges that are members of the UN SSE are smaller exchanges in smaller markets, and the companies that they list are comparatively small. And so for them, dealing with SMEs isn't necessarily a separate focus area, but it is part of the day-to-day business that they deal with. We see a number of our exchanges who mainly list these SMEs, a number of exchanges, according to our latest database, 77 of our member exchanges have SME listing platforms that create a trading platform or a trading environment for SMEs focused. And then we have targeted SME platforms, that are standalone initiatives that create particular tools and products that enable finance to flow to SMEs. So the capital markets are vibrantly alive with the involvement and activity from SMEs as well. Next slide. So this then means that when we talk about sustainability, SMEs are similarly being shaped by this mainstreaming of sustainability that we're seeing. Where they sit in the supply chain of larger organizations or the value chain, the pressure on them is also increasing, similar to the larger organizations, both from those organizations who are making larger demands on particularly transparency and reporting, as well as performance by the SMEs in the value chain. But also we see a growing demand for ESG-aligned businesses, not only in the value chain, but from the customer base itself, from regulators, etc. But SMEs, as I mentioned, also offer a very unique value proposition. And we can see that in the DNA of SMEs. They are close to communities, so the community proximity means that they can contribute to societal upliftment. Their impact on economic development where they operate is therefore potentially significant. And often because these SMEs are driven by entrepreneurs, they're drivers of innovation, and the impact that they can have on the creation of new technology, new innovations is also significant. And although they're small, their collective impact in terms of societal upliftment, economic development, and even environmental impact is also quite significant. So the sustainability imperative then for SMEs also means that we can help them enhance their own resilience and efficiency and create larger investor appeal to enhance their unique value proposition. Next slide. And where then do the strategic role of exchanges come in? So we've already seen that exchanges and SMEs are already cooperating and collaborating in significant ways. But exchanges can work more with SMEs to help foster their sustainability as well as their impact on sustainable development through targeted strategies. We already know that exchanges try to do a lot to help enhance access to finance for SMEs through listing and other initiatives. However, what we're trying to position with these documents is that exchanges can now use tools like our action plan and model guidance to create an enhanced focus on sustainability. But in doing this, the collaboration with a range of stakeholders, such as the investors and the regulators and the SMEs themselves, is key. So what we've tried to do is to create something that exchanges and SMEs can leverage and customize to their own environments. And hopefully some of the benefits of implementing these will include listing growth for the exchange itself, larger economic impact, and ESG leadership coming from the SMEs. So when we look then at the tools that we have on the next slide, thank you, Anthony. There are essentially two documents, and these are available on the UN SSE website, and Lisa will also be sharing the links. What's important to note is that the two documents have two slightly different angles of entry because they're written for two separate audiences. So the how-to guide, or how exchanges can promote sustainable SMEs, is specifically targeted at our exchange audience, and it provides them with an action plan and giving some ideas for what they can do to promote sustainable SMEs. The model guidance then, the audience for the model guidance is issuers or the SMEs themselves. And this document takes its lead from the series of model guidance documents that the SSE has launched previously. And it's intended to form a structured template for exchanges to then use to provide guidance to SME issuers around integrating sustainability. And I will go into these documents in a little bit more detail at a very high level, but please do feel free to study the documents in more detail. So the exchange action plan, which is captured in our first document, the how-to guidance, gives exchanges 3 levels of engagement with SMEs. So there's the engage level, empower, and enable. In the engage level, we find more of a high level involvement and a lighter touch, something where exchanges could perhaps start when they start looking at this area. So building relationships and networks and raising awareness around sustainability and the impact on SMEs, providing platforms for information access around sustainability, creating networks for knowledge sharing, and encouraging more investor engagement, but also then engaging with policymakers who are starting to look at SMEs. Moving a little bit deeper then, we're talking about empowering SMEs, for example, through facilitating access to finance, integrating sustainability into SME listings requirements. We already see sustainability being integrated into main board listing requirements, so starting to extend that is one thing to do. Creating products like incentives and sustainability indices, and offering broader advisory and support services with a focus on sustainability. In the enable environment, what exchanges can do is the written guidance, as I mentioned, leveraging the model guidance that we provide for this purpose, education and training opportunities, and just generally facilitating an ecosystem where it's conducive for SMEs to engage with sustainability. We also see exchanges that have recognition programs around sustainability awards and the like. These could be extended to SMEs, and then other opportunities for access to capital can also be explored through the creation of specific products and other offerings. What we then also found across all 3 of these areas is that capacity building is a cross-cutting thing that exchanges can play a role in, because we know that this is an area where SMEs are lacking, and in sustainability and specifically capacity building across all of the various areas that exchanges become involved in can also have a significant impact in their success. When we move then into the model guidance and what that covers, so this is a tool for the stock exchanges, as I mentioned, and as also our co-chair from the Philippine Stock Exchange mentioned, we encourage exchanges to localize and customize these guidance documents to fit their specific needs. And one thing to note here is that what you will see in our documents is that there isn't a kind of a universal definition for an SME. There are lots of overlaps. However, in local jurisdictions, we often find specific nuances around what is seen as an SME. So it's important for exchanges and SMEs to understand the context where they operate, and what would it mean for them to be part of the SME community. As I mentioned, this guidance complements our existing guidance on ESG reporting, climate, and other factors that we've covered. So the 4 areas that was also mentioned by the Philippine Stock Exchanges, so these are unpacked in more detail in the document itself, and I will highlight them a little bit in the next slides. But it's intended to cover a structured kind of a progress process where you would start with preparing, so understanding the case for sustainability, and here one would look at balancing the challenges that SME SMEs face around limited financial resources, liquidity problems, regulatory compliance, structural challenge, and just the complexity of implementing a lot of the sustainability challenges that are required these days, with the opportunities that SMEs can realize through working towards the integration of sustainability. So we often see that creating opportunities for sustainable finance, incentives from government for initiatives by SMEs, creating more agility and eco-efficiency, and providing access to global value chains are some of the real opportunities that SMEs can realize when they start pursuing sustainability integration. And balancing these challenges and opportunities creates a series of incentives for SMEs to then pursue this. They can have the opportunity to differentiate themselves within their markets. They can be proactive by starting to comply ahead of others and being prepared for when regulation comes through starting to disclose and integrate certain of the sustainability requirements. Access to finance is obviously a big one, and attracting investors that are looking for ESG businesses or ESG leaders is a significant incentive for SMEs. The resilience and innovation is a key thing for SMEs to ensure their own growth as a business, and attracting talent, because a lot of modern employees are looking for purpose-driven workplaces that embrace sustainability. So that's setting the scene in the preparation for integration of sustainability. Chapter 2 of our model guidance then covers aligning that within the business. So here we're talking about strategy and governance and integrating into the SME's vision, mission, values, and culture, and aligning your governance structures with the business size and the maturity. And what we encourage in this model guidance and also in the how-to is the approach of proportionality, because we know that SMEs don't have the same level of capacity or even the same structural diversity that larger organizations offer. So particularly in governance, proportional approach here and scaling implementation can be tailored to the SME's resources and stage of growth. Across all of the chapters in the model guidance, we provide links to tools. Now, these are not exhaustive tools, but some examples that we found throughout the development of this process. And one of the particular tools that is very useful in relation to governance is the IFC's Governance Guidebook, which has a very good guidance and practical ideas around SME, particularly looking at governance. Moving then to chapter 3, which covers the actual implementation. And this is where the SMEs would start taking action, and particularly looking at risk management and operational processes here. So looking at how you define sustainability risk. And there are a number of resources that would help SMEs guide them in identifying resources. So you could look at, the global risk report that's published every year. Most of the sustainability reporting frameworks also cover a range of material topics that would provide interesting ideas for SMEs to identify which risks they may be exposed to. Looking then at implementation as well, it's important to identify which functional roles would look at sustainability implementation. And we understand that SMEs are not able to appoint a sustainability officer. It's often someone already within the organization who would be trained to understand what sustainability is and to take on some of the sustainability responsibilities. So this would require reviewing existing systems, procedures, and job descriptions to understand how to implement sustainability at a functional level, and to put processes in place to monitor and evaluate the progress that the SME makes. Finally then, and this is where the progress would then be demonstrated in chapter 4, which is around communicating and transparently sharing the progress. So transparency, we know, is a good governance cornerstone. It is a significantly developing area as well, But the development of standards around this, around sustainability reporting, suggests that the standards will be developed for SMEs as well. We already see GRI as well as the ESRS standards have specific focus areas for SMEs. But if the current trajectory of regulation around these standards suggests that similar exposure might be required from SMEs in the future. So as we mentioned, one of the incentives for the SMEs to then integrate sustainability would be to be proactive around reporting and to be prepared for when reporting becomes either a requirement through the value chain or from regulators. We encourage exchanges then to also use their ESG disclosure guidance to customize that for the SMEs that they deal with, but for those SMEs then to use effective disclosure frameworks that can be proportional to their own environment to make sure that they can transparently share their progress. So that is a very, very brief snapshot and overview of what we have in these two documents. As we mentioned, we hope that these tools will be useful both for exchanges to support their SMEs, as well as for the SMEs themselves to understand how to integrate sustainability across their business, from starting to prepare up to the point where you're ready to actually start reporting on your integration. Thank you, Anthony. I'm handing back to you and happy for us to address any questions in the Q&A.
Thanks for that, Coralie. Great overview of these two documents. There's a lot in there, so we do encourage everybody to dive in. We have had some questions in the Q&A, and Coralie, before I move on, I know we have a few other discussants who want to jump in, but you know, one of the things we did have some questions about, Coralie, was about proportionality practices for SMEs. There was a question from Andrea about that. I know it's I don't want you to try to sum that up in 5 seconds or less because it's too difficult, but maybe you can explain how the guidance has addressed the proportionality issue, and also how the guidance has addressed this interoperability issue as well. Andrea also asked that you know, that there can be different standards out there or tools or frameworks for SMEs. How should SMEs deal with that? How do they navigate that space? And how do these tools help, these new publications help them navigate that space?
Thanks, Anthony. On proportionality, we think that proportionality is an effective way of SMEs tackling what could be quite a daunting challenge. You know, starting to look, there are different approaches to proportionality, and there's a little diagram that we have in the documents that covers it. So one can take different approaches. You can either take a staggered approach where you start your approach small and then you know, implement in one area first and then in another area. So that's kind of a staggered approach, or you could take an incremental approach. And the 4 steps in our model guidance is actually lends itself very much to taking an incremental approach, because you could just start with the preparation and the awareness raising and then start implementing it into your governance and then build on that as you go. Any organization can take that approach, but it's particularly useful for SMEs. You can also take a proportional approach actually in implementation, where you first, for example, have your governance structures start to integrate sustainability, and then as the business grows, you would build on, for example, the staff that look at sustainability and so forth. There are also some examples in the document that touches on how we see proportionality being applied in other sectors. So from an exchange perspective, for example, there is an analogy for the banking environment where regulations are proportional to the size of the organization, and exchanges that regulate can take a similar approach, and some of them do already take that in having kind of more relaxed listing requirements for certain types of organizations and SMEs. So a similar approach can be taken in relation to sustainability reporting, for example, in the regulatory environment.
Yeah.
In terms of yeah, let me leave it there for now. I don't want to run out of time for the other discussions, but I'll leave some comments in the Q&A as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a few questions coming in about proportionality and so on. You can drop some comments in the Q&A in the chat, and I may come back to you, Corley, on that. But I first wanted to go to some of the exchanges we have on the call. We've got with us today Bursa Istanbul, Botswana Stock Exchange, the Athens Stock Exchange. Anur, I'd like to go to you first in Bursa Istanbul. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about the experience of your exchange working with SMEs on this topic in your marketplace.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony, for this webinar. As Elena mentioned, business everywhere are trying to realize that if they want to grow and stay strong, they need some kind of focus on sustainability as one of the hot topics of nowadays, I believe. And of course, big companies lead these conversations, but SMEs, as already mentioned by different panelists, they play a huge role, or they are starting to play a huge role too. So they bring fresh ideas, innovation, and they have a direct impact on their communities as well. And like all over the world, in Turkey as well, they are at great importance with 3.2 million active businesses. They make almost all of the companies in Turkey, and they handle more than half of our exports to different countries. They drive jobs, export, and innovation, but of course, many struggle how to deal with sustainability issues. Of course, there are several financing initiatives in Turkey as well to provide funds to SMEs. At Borsa Istanbul, we have recently launched the venture capital market. It's one of our markets in Borsa Istanbul to help businesses. They are not yet ready for a public listing, but still they sell their shares to qualified investors. And we hope that this will make financing of SMEs more accessible. And we believe supporting SMEs is one of the quite important topics of capital markets in Turkey as well as in other countries. We have been supporting SME. We have been supporting UN SSE's documentation efforts. And of course, once they are ready, we have been inspired a lot from your documentations. So the sustainability guide, the IFRS guide, the climate guide help us shape our strategies and support our markets, support our stakeholders in their own sustainability journey. I'm quite sure that the new guide, the new documentation will be quite helpful as well for both for exchanges like us and for our stakeholders, for SMEs in our relevant countries. And I thank you for anyone who has contributed to the guidance as well.
Thank you for that, Anur. Appreciate the feedback on that and great examples from your marketplace. I'd like to go to Botswana next, to Tapelo. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Tapelo. I'm from Botswana. I'm the head of market development here at the Botswana Stock Exchange. So I'm really excited to be a part of this discussion. So firstly, let me just congratulate the UN SSE team for putting this together and continuing to provide the best benchmarks for us and all the exchanges around the world. Recently, we were in Tunisia. We signed on the Net Zero Financial Service Providers Alliance commitment to play our part as far as the transition to a low carbon economy led by the UN SSE. So these are great developments that we obviously are happy to see as an exchange, and we are definitely poised to grow as a market. I think everyone has sort of highlighted the importance of SMEs and why we are doing this work. Botswana is no different. To give a bit of a local context, yesterday I attended a Future of Mining Summit where obviously the government segment was talking about job creation and diversification from our diamonds, and essentially where the next level of growth is going to come from. And I think we can all agree that SMEs can provide that next level of growth because Botswana is predominantly an SME market. So currently there is definitely more of a push for exchanges to step up and provide a leadership role in terms of how capital markets can assist SMEs. I like to use the word leadership because it's quite important, particularly looking at the fact that as exchanges, we can champion sustainability because of the power of our voice and our vantage point in terms of where we are sitting. So from the Botswana perspective, we are part of the 72 WFE stock exchanges that offer specialized listing platforms or segments, like we call them, with modified listing and regulatory requirements for SMEs. And as an exchange, when we launched this platform, we thought that was a bold statement, and everything else was supposed to fall in place following that. But we quickly, realized some of the challenges in our market, in the sense that we didn't see as many SMEs come into the market to list. Therefore, we established a mentorship program to assist companies to corporatize and just essentially induct them into what is required for them to eventually list on the market. So we are about to start the next cohort of our mentorship program, and I'm happy to say that with the work that has been done already, we are actually excited to include more sustainability topics on our agenda this year, and we will definitely share information on this guidance with our stakeholders for the next SME mentorship program. So what we've seen from the companies that have essentially graduated from this program is that they've gone on to take the next steps in terms of corporatization, putting together boards, getting themselves audited, just so that they can be appealing to asset owners. But we can agree that sustainability is really key in this regard. What we have seen also in our market is that because of the 12 billion US dollar pension fund in Botswana, we have seen an interesting challenge where essentially SMEs are sort of ignored, and there is more focus on larger companies that have provide larger ticket sizes for asset managers. So we are currently working on setting up a fund for SMEs, and obviously sustainability will be at the core of this fund. We have recently partnered with one of the local banks here to set up an SME task force with the emphasis on sustainability as well. So I think the work that we are doing right now is definitely going to assist in this regard. We often talk of lack of finance as a challenge for SMEs, but when we really zoom into what the nitty-gritties are in terms of what the exact challenges are, you find that there's a lot of supply side challenges. I think somebody mentioned this earlier. There's also demand side challenges, ecosystem challenges that we've seen pertaining to SMEs and sustainability. So we hope that the work that we have already embarked on as a team, with the support of the UN SSE, of course, will be great in terms of addressing these challenges. So I'll tell you what my vision is going forward from our engagement. Obviously, our markets are different with different dynamics. I think that is something that we definitely have to carry going forward. So what I really or what my hope is for the future going forward is for exchanges to be encouraged to obviously replicate the information that is contained in this model guidance, and obviously use it for their markets, and obviously publish it and share it with the rest of the ecosystem, so that there's a structured way of obviously guiding SMEs with the template that we've already been offered by this guidance. And then earlier on, Koli shared a 4-step process, which is really, really great in terms of us engaging with SMEs going forward in terms of a detailed approach to sustainability integration. We do a lot of market education in our market, and I'm excited that this will obviously form part of the information that we share with the market, with the ecosystem. So great work to everybody. I think it's up to us as exchanges to now lead and take this information forward to the market and share it with share these tools with our SMEs in our respective jurisdictions. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Anthony, and the team.
Thank you very much for that, Tapelo, and thanks for sharing about the experiences in Botswana, which I think many exchanges around the world can relate to, as well as SMEs that I'm sure they hear themselves in these discussions you have about challenges and opportunities. We have also with us the Athens Exchange. Lillian, can you share with us some of your perspectives from the Athens Stock Exchange?
Yes, thank you, Anthony, and thank you both the SSE and the IFC. And may I just, I'm Lillian Georgopoulou. I'm the Deputy Chief Listings Officer here at the Athens Stock Exchange in Greece. Quickly, I really want to say that I think what you have produced, these two guides are really important because it provides a structured approach to sustainability with clearly defined actions. It's not just an abstract paper, but it is a practical tool with tips and case studies. So I think it really brings to life the various aspects that businesses must consider through their sustainability journey. And I think this is where us as exchanges have a very crucial role to play. We need to educate, support, and empower especially SMEs, and make them embrace sustainability as an opportunity and not just as a tick box exercise for regulatory purposes or otherwise. They have to consider it as an opportunity to improve their regulatory readiness, their competitiveness, and their resilience. So speaking from our experience at Athens, we have seen firsthand how structured guidance and support can have a meaningful impact. Just very briefly, first of all, we have a dedicated market for SMEs. It's a multilateral trading facility, so the listing is much quicker and easier versus the regulated markets. And therefore, those companies listing on that market, we offer dedicated capacity building and support programs, both for the pre-listing as well as the post-listing stage, including ESG reporting guidance, as well as research coverage. And we also do dedicated events and investor roadshows. So these companies can gradually improve their corporate governance and transparency and get ready to eventually transition to the regulated market. And another important thing that we have done the last 5 years or so is that we have produced an ESG reporting guide, which is a practical tool for listed and non-listed companies on basic metrics they should report to their stakeholders. So all these initiatives together, we have actually seen that over time they have helped these companies. Already we've got 5 companies that have moved to our regulated markets from the smaller markets. And with regards to sustainability, we've seen that our guide has helped SMEs listed on our market become gradually more knowledgeable. And they have managed to attract more investor interest, better business opportunities, and easier access to bank financing. So, for those of you that are in Europe, you will probably all know, because we prepared them in advance, they were much better in a much better place to be able to deal with the European regulation and CSRD. So. To wrap up, I think that this kind of guides are essential for both exchanges and SMEs. And for me, to achieve a transition to a lower carbon economy, we need to make our financial ecosystem greener, but also more inclusive, which means that we need to facilitate SME access to public markets and finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Lillian. And I think those are all key activities you're engaging with as SMEs, helping to bring them to market, helping them to adopt and integrate sustainability issues into their management systems, and helping them to future-proof them for regulatory action that may be coming down the pipeline, as we've seen in Europe with ESRS and so on. These are all great actions, and again, echoing that the activities we've seen at other exchanges around the world. I think a key thing for our SMEs when it comes to sustainability is to realize, as you're mentioning, Lillian, these are not sort of tick box exercises. These are a big part of management. And for many asset managers and investors, they'll look at ESG or sustainability management as a overall quality of management metric. So very, very important to integrate these things into the activities. I think right before we conclude, there was a question, Lillian, too, about the ATHEX ESG guide, but my colleague Lisa already sent a link to that because we do include that in the SSE database. On the SSE website, we have an inventory of all stock exchange ESG disclosure guidance documents. So anybody on the call who's interested in those can find them on our website. I'd like to go before.
Download, sorry, it's free to download for both listed and unlisted, and it's actually very practical on actual metrics that you have to disclose. So
Yeah.
it's, feel free to take a look, everyone.
Yes, thank you for that, Lillian, and definitely encourage people to take a look, and also for even non-listed companies, it's good to benchmark your activity against the standards of a listed company, especially if you're looking to grow in the future. One of the things that a lot of SMEs face is this glass ceiling of they grow to a certain point and then they kind of level off there. And the way to break through that glass ceiling is to enhance the governance and management systems, and to work with your local exchange to see how you can access new forms of finance and capital. We just have a couple of minutes left, and I'd like to bring my colleague Corley back just to give us a little bit of a wrap up of some of the questions. There's been I know that a lot of questions back and forth in the Q&A and in the chat that Corley's been addressing. Corley, do you have any final thoughts? I saw a lot of questions about different standards that SMEs might have to deal with, about interoperability, about proportionality, which is, of course, a big thing that we focused on when preparing the report.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the when you think about what an exchange can do, you know, one can often think that your smaller and micro businesses don't necessarily deal with an exchange, but so extending the reach to them also, you know, can be really effective by leveraging what exchanges can do. So by just creating networks and creating digital tools to access information, you know, exchanges can also reach SMEs that are not currently within, you know, within their universe, and extend that reach. Something else that we didn't touch on is the importance of involving also the larger listed companies. You know, many of them deal with SMEs in their value chain, but they're not necessarily aware of the challenges that SMEs face in relation to integrating sustainability. So that can be an effective tool as well, to, you know, to partner with large listed companies and other organizations to help create awareness around sustainability amongst the SMEs. And exchanges, you know, as we heard from our other discussants, they often are at the coalface of the challenges that their companies face, and they are not a magic wand to help solve all the challenges of sustainability, but they can certainly play a large influencing role. And so we also encourage business organizations that are on the call to, you know, to partner with the exchanges within your jurisdictions to try and extend the reach and you know, expand the message around the importance for sustainability. We have a fantastic group of exchanges as members of the UN SSE who are really active in doing a lot around, but they can also, you know, use the support of those of you who work with SMEs on the ground. So
thank you very much for that, Corley. And thank you to everyone today who participated in this session. Feel free to download the reports from the SSE website. The slides will also be on our website at the end of today. Thank you also to the project supporters, IFC and the Swiss government. And thank you to the SSE official supporters, exchanges, and other organizations around the world that make our work possible. And thank you, of course, to all of our speakers and the co-chairs of the advisory group, the Amman Stock Exchange and the Philippine Stock Exchange. We appreciate all your contributions. For SMEs out there, if you're not a listed company and you think exchanges are not for you because you're not listed, there are all kinds of services that exchanges can offer and help you with and guide you in your business. So do feel free to engage with your local exchange and see how they can assist you in your sustainability journey and in accessing different forms of finance. Thank you all for joining today, and have a good rest of the day.